That little filter button on your DAC, you've probably pressed it, cycled through a few cryptic words like sharp, slow, or linear phase, and thought, am I really supposed to hear a difference? Is there a right setting? For something that seems so minor, this button causes a ton of confusion, debate, and even anxiety online. You'll find forum threads, dozens of pages long, with people passionately arguing about which filter is the absolute best and which ones are fundamentally broken. It's the kind of feature that can make you feel like you're doing something wrong with your expensive new DAC. Are you missing out? Are you choosing the objectively worst setting? Is this whole thing just snake oil? Well, today we're going to demystify that button once and for all. I'm going to talk you through what's really happening to your music when you press it, why it's there in the first place, and most importantly, how to choose the right one for you. So what problem is this little button even trying to solve? To get to that, we need a quick trip back to the basics of digital audio. It's not as complicated as it sounds, I promise. Think of a movie. It isn't one continuous moving image, right? It's a series of still pictures of frames shown so fast that your brain sees smooth motion. Digital audio works on a similar principle. In digital audio, we're taking thousands of tiny individual snapshots of the sound wave every single second. For a standard CD quality track, that's 44,100 snapshots or samples every single second. When you play that file, your digital to analog converter, your DAC, has to look at all those snapshots and draw a smooth, continuous analog waveform from them, the kind of wave your amp can understand and your speakers can turn into sound. Now, here's where the trouble starts. Your DAC has to play a very sophisticated game of connect the dots. But in the process of creating a digital signal, a type of high-frequency noise is generated. Think of it like a ghostly echo of your music pitched way, way up in the frequency, far beyond what any human can possibly hear. Engineers call this ultrasonic images, copies of the signal that appear above the audible range. That's different from aliasing, which is when frequencies actually fall back into the range we can hear if sampling isn't done properly. In PCM, this usually shows up as mirrored copies of the signal from sampling or upsampling, while in DSD, it can come from the noise shaping process in its 1-bit stream. Even though you can't hear this noise, it's still there, and if we let it just run wild, it has potential to cause problems. Most modern gear is designed to handle this ultrasonic energy without issue, but in some cases, it can interact with an amp or a tweeter and create distortion you can actually hear. Some argue it's what adds that harshness or digital glare to the sound. This is the entire reason that filter button exists. The main job of a digital filter is to be a gatekeeper. It has to draw that beautiful audio wave from the digital samples while simultaneously building a wall to block all that unwanted ultrasonic garbage from getting into your amp. It has to let all the good stuff, the music, pass through perfectly and then slam the door shut on everything above it. But how do you build that wall? How sharply you cut off the noise and how you deal with the side effects? Well, that's where all the differences lie. That's why you have options. To really get the difference between filters, you don't need to be an electronics engineer. You just need to understand two key concepts: roll off and phase. Every filter on your DAC is just a different recipe of mixing these two ingredients. It's a balancing act. Let's start with the easy one: roll off. Roll off just describes how aggressively the filter cuts off those high frequencies. You'll usually see two flavors: sharp roll off, sometimes called fast, and slow roll off. Imagine the range of human hearing as a highway that extends at 20,000 hertz. Right at the end of that highway is where all the unwanted ultrasonic noise begins. A sharp roll off filter is like a sheer cliff face at the end of that highway. It lets all the music pass through right up to the very edge, then drops off almost vertically. It's a brutal, effective brick wall that's fantastic at blocking ultrasonic junk. On a measurement graph, this looks perfect. You get the most extended frequency response and almost total suppression of noise. This type measures extremely flat and does a great job of blocking ultrasonic junk, but that precision comes at the cost of adding more ringing in time. A slow roll-off filter, on the other hand, is more like a gentle, grassy hill. Instead of a sharp cliff, the slope declines gradually. This means it starts to subtly roll off the very top of the audible spectrum before it gets to the main job of cutting out the noise. And because the slope is gentler, it's not quite as good at eliminating all of that noise. A little bit might roll over the hill, so to speak. So, why would you ever choose the gentle hill over the perfect cliff? This brings us to the unavoidable side effect of all digital filtering: ringing. Think about dropping a stone into a still pond. The moment it hits, ripples spread out. A digital filter, when it reconstructs a sharp, a sudden sound, like the crack of a snare drum, what we call a transient, creates a similar ripple effect. This is ringing. The sharper the filter, the more pronounced the ringing. That extra ringing can slightly blur the natural impact of a transient, so a snare hit might measure perfectly but sound just a touch less crisp. That steep hill of a sharp roll-off filter in its quest for perfection creates significant ringing. The gentler hill of a slow roll-off filter creates much less. Many listeners feel this ringing gives sharp filters a slightly unnatural or clinical sound. The reduced ringing of the slow filter is often described as sounding smoother and more natural. Now, for the second trade-off, phase. You'll almost always see filters labeled linear phase or minimum phase. This is all about timing. A linear phase filter is designed for the perfect time coherence. It maintains the exact same time delay for all frequencies. If a musical chord is a group of runners all starting a race at the same time, a linear phase filter ensures they all cross the finish line together. On paper, this is ideal for accuracy, but there is a strange side effect. Remember that ringing in a linear phase filter, the ringing is symmetrical. It happens both after the sound and weirdly before it. This is called pre-ringing. The filter creates an echo that arrives before the sound itself. That happens because linear phase filters are symmetrical in time. The DAC handles it by buffering the data, but what you hear is that little pre-echo before the main transient. It's an effect before the cause situation that's only possible in the digital world, where a processor can look ahead at the data. Many argue this pre-ringing is unnatural and can subtly smear the attack of sounds, making them less impactful. This is where minimum phase filter comes in. Its main goal is to eliminate that unnatural pre-ringing. It does this by shifting all the ringing to after the sound. There is no pre-echo. The initial hit of a snare drum is preserved with maximum impact. The trade-off? It gives up on perfect time coherence. Different frequencies have slightly different delays, which technically alters the phase. Advocates argue this is more natural or analog-like since there is no such thing as pre-ringing in the real world. Listeners often describe minimum phase filters as sounding more dynamic, rhythmic, and lifelike. So, there are our building blocks. Every filter setting is just a different recipe, balancing the roll-off frequency extension versus ringing with the phase, just time coherence versus pre-ringing. With those concepts down, let's decode the actual menu on your DAC. Number one, the linear phase fast, sharp roll-off. This is the textbook filter, the one that measures perfectly. It combines the steep hill cliff roll-off with time-perfect linear phase. What it's doing, prioritizing flat frequency response and maximum rejection of ultrasonic noise while keeping all frequencies perfectly in time. The trade-off, this filter has the most ringing, both before and after the sound, pre and post ringing. How it sounds, often the most detailed, clear, and precise. It can have a very high resolution character with an airy top end. However, to some, that pre-ringing can make it sound sterile, clinical, or glassy. A lot definitely depends on downstream electronics and speakers, of course, but this is the choice for the measurement purist. Number two, linear phase slow roll off. This is a compromise. It keeps the perfect timing but swaps the steep cliff for the gentle hill. What it's doing, it's maintaining that perfect timing relationship but using a more gradual filter slope. The trade-off, it has a significantly earlier treble roll-off and it's less effective at suppressing all ultrasonic noise. The ringing is still symmetrical, pre and post, but it's significantly less than the fast roll-off version. How it sounds, often described as a more musical or relaxed version of the sharp filter, it takes the clinical edge off, offering a smoother presentation while maintaining good imaging. Number three, minimum phase, fast or sharp roll off. Now we switch philosophies. We keep the aggressive steep cliff but ditch the linear phase to kill that unnatural pre-ringing. What's going on here is it's providing excellent frequency extension and noise rejection, but critically it eliminates all pre-ringing, pushing the filter artifacts to after the sound. The trade-off here, it introduces a small amount of phase shift, and the post ringing can be slightly longer than with a linear phase filter. How does it sound? This is often the filter for lovers of rhythm and punch. The lack of pre-ringing results in a very sharp, impactful leading edge to sounds. Drums hit harder, bass lines have more snap, and the overall feel is more live and energetic. Number four, minimum phase slow roll off. This filter combines both compromising philosophies. Get rid of pre-ringing and reduce ringing overall. It's the gentle hill with all the ripples happening after the fact. What it's doing is it uses a gradual roll off and eliminates pre-ringing. This filter has the least amount of ringing artifacts overall. But the trade-off is like its linear roll-off counterpart. It has a gentler treble response and allows more ultrasonic noise through than a sharp filter. How it sounds, for many, this is the golden mean. It often is called the most natural, smooth, and analog-like of the standard filters. It avoids pre-ringing and the aggressive nature of fast roll-offs, resulting in a sound that is both smooth and rhythmically engaging. Again, I repeat, this sonic presentation depends on downstream electronics and speakers. But if you'd like to understand what your digital source is doing, then this is a good start. All right, that covers the big four, which probably has you leaning one way or the other. Before we get into some of the more exotic types, if this breakdown is clearing things up for you, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. I go deep on topics like this every week to help you get the most out of your audio system. And please do watch out for my one-to-one consulting sessions coming soon to help you with personalized solutions. So, beyond the main four, many modern DACs offer a few more specialized options. Let's demystify them. So, number five, apodizing hybrid filters. You'll see names like apodizing fast roll-off. These are clever hybrids trying to give you the best of both worlds. An apodizing filter is designed to fix a problem that might already be in the recording itself, ringing from the original analog to digital conversion that got baked in. In practice, these filters reduce pre-echo and shape the time response so playback sounds cleaner, though they can't eventually erase every flaw in the original recording. What it's doing is it acts as a reconstruction filter and a cleanup tool, removing pre-ringing from the original recording. Most are based on minimum phase principles to avoid adding any pre-ringing of their own. How it sounds, because they can clean up imperfections in a recording, many people find these filters offer a uniquely clean and focused sound. They can take the harsh edge of some recordings, making them sound more natural. Next up at number 6, NOS, non-oversampling, super slow roll-off. This is the most radical and controversial option. A super slow roll-off filter is the closest you'll get to a true non-oversampling NOS design in a conventional DAC. What it's doing, essentially, as little as possible. This filter has an incredibly gentle slope. It does the bare minimum for reconstruction, which means it allows a huge amount of that ultrasonic noise to pass right through. Why would anyone want this? The argument is for ultimate purity in the time domain. By doing as little filtering as possible, you get virtually zero ringing. Proponents believe this results in the most open and spatially realistic sound, free from filter smear. The impulse response is a very clean spike, free of the ringing we see elsewhere. The big trade-off, all that ultrasonic noise it lets through can wreak havoc on downstream components if they aren't designed to handle it, potentially causing audible distortion. The high frequencies also tend to roll off quite early. This is a high risk, high reward filter that is highly system dependent and is subject of endless debate. Okay, that was a ton of theory. Sharp, slow, linear, minimum. It's easy to get overwhelmed and fall back into that anxiety of, am I using the wrong one? But let's be crystal clear here. The single most important thing to know is that the differences between these filters in most cases are incredibly subtle. We are not talking about night and day changes. We're talking about small shifts in presentation you might only notice on a very repeating system or with very good headphones. Some people can't hear any difference at all, and that's perfectly okay. There is no universally best filter. There is only the best filter for you on your system and with your ears. The fear of choosing the wrong setting is largely unfounded. Choosing a slow roll-off filter doesn't mean your DAC is now low resolution. Choosing a minimum phase filter doesn't mean your music is now distorted. These are just different flavors of high fidelity, each prioritizing a different aspect of the sound. Think of it like choosing coffee beans. One might be technically perfect according to a judge in your face, a fast roll off. Another is a smoother and more mellow kind, the slow roll off. A third might have a bold, punchy flavor that really wakes you up, minimum phase. None of them are wrong. They just offer a different experience. The best thing you can do is forget what you read on forums. Trust your own ears. Spend an afternoon with your favorite tracks. Switch between the filters. Don't try to listen for ringing, just listen to the music. Does the sharp filter make cymbals sound more detailed or a bit harsh? Does the slow filter make things more smoother or a bit too soft? Does the minimum phase filter make the drums kick with more authority? Your preference will depend on your entire system. If you have bright headphones, a slow roll-off might be the perfect tool to tame that edge. If you have a warmer, laid-back system, a sharp roll-off might add a welcome sense of air. It's a tuning tool, and you're the one doing the tuning. So that filter button isn't so mysterious after all. Its job is simple. Rebuild the music from its digital snapshots while blocking the unwanted noise. The different settings are just different strategies to get you there, each balancing a trade-off. You're always playing with the steepness of the roll-off, pitting frequency extension against ringing, and the phase response, pitting perfect timing against unnatural pre-ringing. There is no magic setting. There is no single right answer. The most technically perfect filter on paper might not be the one that sounds best to you. The one that sounds most natural might be technically less perfect on a graph, and that's a-okay. At the end of the day, we're not here to listen to graphs, are we? We're here to enjoy the music. So I encourage you to experiment. Be your own expert. Spend some time with your gear. Cycle through those options and settle on the one that makes you want to listen longer. Trust your ears. In the end, they're the only measurement tool that truly matters. And now I'm curious to hear from you. What is your go-to filter? Let me know in the comments below what DAC you're using. And on your screen, you will find videos that help you match your DAC to your amplifier and other videos to help you get the best out of your system. I'm sure you'll find them informative. See you in the next one.